This was made around 2009, 2010, so it's kind of when the economic downturn happened, and this is all around the bankers.
Today's all about showcasing all the AHRC-funded projects that are engaging academics in the arts and humanities with the creative economy. A very recent funding initiative has been our network of video games networks, and this is a very new area of development for us. Thinking about what is the future for video games, how do the arts and humanities fit into video games development. This is the first time a range of video games companies were able to come together and have those much more exploratory and reflective conversations about what they do, which will help them innovate for the future. So again, it's a really valuable engagement between the research base and that part of the creative economy.
We've got two projects here today. One is the Creative Territories, which is a project looking at how clusters of creatives and technologists can further generate the games industry. So Bristol Games Hub, which is the second largest games hub in the world, we have 35 developers based there from all sorts of different companies, different disciplines, working on different platforms, and we look how, rather than being in competition, they're actually in cooperation with each other. The other project we're here representing today is part of the React Sandbox, which is an interactive documentary called JTR 125, which looks at the Jack the Ripper murders 125 years later. What you're looking at here is our recreation of London 1888. So what we wanted to do was make something that looked like how the audiences of the day would have seen it, which would have been through the pages of newspapers like the Police Illustrated News. And they were all hand-drawn, carved onto blocks and printed out. So here I'm coming down in Whitechapel in London, and this is Mitre Square. So as you can see, as I move around here, you can see the various locations as they looked, as far as we know, in London 1888. As well as the player being able to go around and look at it, we can then recreate some of the scenes of that night. So this is a demo of one of the police officers, PC Watkins, and I'm going to ask him to talk me through that night. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. Now this is a demo, so you can see the graphics are kind of markers, but they show me where I need to move around Mitre Square. The AHRC have basically given funding through the React project for this. And that's allowed us to get the academics on board, it's given us the networks to get the academics on board, and really it's given us a space to experiment in a way that in normal commercial work we simply don't have.
My name is Catherine Gerling. I'm a lecturer at the University of Lincoln, and we're part of the Performance and Games network that is showcasing some of our work here today. We looked into building video games for people using wheelchairs. So we're looking at how we can use the Kinect sensor to make motion-based games more accessible for people who do use wheelchairs and who can't just walk around in the room. In this game, it actually just uses the distance from the camera, so moving back and forth is what we're looking at. It invites users to pick up candy that is flowing in 2 lanes on the screen. So to pick up the candy, you have to move the wheelchair back and forth. That's where the movement comes in. So I pick up the candy from the bottom lane, and then I wheel up and stop in the middle portion, and then raise my arm to drop off the candy and feed the girl that's appearing on the screen.
Really, in terms of monetization, the amount of money involved in the games industry is huge. None of the research councils have really picked this up as a theme until AHRC started funding the sort of current network activities. So we've kind of thought they've taken the lead on that, really.
Dear Esther, the gulls do not land here anymore. I've noticed that this year they seem to shun the place. Maybe it's the depletion of the fishing stock driving them away. Perhaps it's me.
One of the first projects we funded around video games was the Dear Esther project by Dan Pinchbeck at the University of Portsmouth. And that was an exploration of what it means to look at character and narrative within video games, and went on to be an award-winning and hugely commercially successful video game in its own right, but began life as a fairly standard research project. But that was the first very successful project that we funded in this area, and has led us to think more about how we can contribute by connecting academic researchers with the video games industry. What's really striking about what Dan Pinchbeck has done is that he was as a researcher, reflecting on the nature of video games and storytelling in games. And I think he decided he wasn't getting anywhere writing academic papers on the subject. The best way to really explore it and really articulate his research questions was just to make his own game.
I have painted, carved, hewn, scored into this space all that I could draw from it.
So he did this as a research exercise, but actually it's had enormous commercial success, and I think recouped all of its development costs within the first few hours of being commercially available, and has sold hundreds of thousands of copies. So what began life as an academic inquiry into the nature of storytelling in video games has become this huge commercial success.